Hi, I'm Ava, and my relationship with my mother-in-law has never been good. Right from the start, she's been unfriendly and disrespectful towards me. It's like she doesn't think I'm the right choice for her son. Things got worse when my husband and I decided to buy our first home. He helped pay for it, but my mother-in-law constantly criticized it, pointing out every flaw and buying decorations I didn't like. The situation hit rock bottom when she started trying to turn my husband against me. She'd call him and make up lies about things I'd supposedly said or done, trying to break us apart. I tried to stay positive and hoped things would get better, but eventually I had to stand up for myself. I decided to invite my mother-in-law over for dinner to try to fix our relationship. I spent a long time cooking and getting everything ready, but she hardly ate anything. "Mary, Ansel, and I are happy you could join us for dinner," Ansel said. "I even made your favorite meal." But my mother-in-law wasn't impressed. "Unfortunately, it looks like my least favorite dish," she snapped. "This isn't food. I wouldn't even give this to a pet. Do you really call this cooking? Do you even know how to make bread? What on earth is this? I'm making an effort here, Mary, trying to mend things with you and make things better between us. But it feels like I'm doing it alone. You're just being mean." "Well, it's still practically edible. How does Ansel stomach this? Maybe you should consider taking some cooking classes." "Mary, I spent a lot of time and effort on this meal. Please try to appreciate it." "Fine, I'll give it another try. But you'll need to do better if you want to impress me. Just being Ansel's wife isn't enough." "I'm not trying to impress you, Mary. I just wanted us to have a nice dinner together. I didn't expect dinner with Godzilla." "Oh, I heard from Ansel that you burnt the roast last week." "I did mess up with the roast, but I've learned from that mistake and I'm improving. Can we please just focus on enjoying this meal? Can you try to be less grumpy for once?" Throughout the meal, my mother-in-law kept making snide remarks while picking at her food. I felt really uneasy in my own home, and Ansel didn't stand up for me. He just said it was up to the ladies to sort things out and never defended me when his mom criticized me. So I stayed quiet and listened, even though it hurt. I remember going to my aunt's birthday party. She'd set up the basement for painting, wine, and snacks. It was meant to be fun, but things got awkward when my own personal Godzilla showed up. "Hey auntie, happy birthday. This painting and wine idea is awesome. I'm excited to join in." "Oh, you're so sweet. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's just a nice way to relax and have some fun." Well, I have to admit, seeing my mother-in-law here is a bit of a surprise. "Oh, Mary, she and I get along really well. I admire her sense of style." "Oops, I forgot to mention I invited her. I know you two haven't always seen eye to eye, but I thought I'd give it a shot at smoothing things over. And well, she's family. You know she makes me uncomfortable. She's always so rude and passive-aggressive." "I understand, and I'm sorry. Just try to keep your distance from me. Let's try to enjoy the evening and not let her bother you too much." My mother-in-law wore a really revealing shirt. She also accidentally got paint on herself while drinking, so my aunt and mom tried to help her clean up in the bathroom. I joined them because I didn't want to leave my mom alone with my mother-in-law. You know, Jesse has been such an amazing boyfriend to me. He treats me like a queen and is always so thoughtful. Jess, you're Jess. Ava mentioned he was really mean to her and Ansel back in school. Oh, he's changed a lot since then. He has a great job now and always takes me to nice restaurants and buys me gifts. What does Ansel think about all this? I remember there was some tension between him and Jesse in the past. Oh, he doesn't know. He's just stubborn and holds onto grudges. But I'm happy, and that's what matters right now. I'll tell him when the time is right. It turned out my husband's old bully Jesse was now dating my mother-in-law. Knowing my husband disliked Jesse, I felt uneasy about it. I talked to my mother-in-law, but she got upset. It seemed like she always wanted to cause trouble between my husband and me, which frustrated me. I needed someone to support me, but Ansel wasn't doing that. So I decided to confront her myself. "It seems like you're always trying to create problems between Ansel and me." "What are you talking about? I've never tried to cause problems between you and Ansel." "Really? What about when you came over for dinner and hardly ate anything while making snide remarks?" "Of that, I just wasn't feeling well that day." "And what about at my aunt's party when you wore that revealing shirt, got drunk, and ended up covered in paint? My mom and aunt had to help you clean up. That was just a little slip-up. I didn't mean any harm." And then there's Jesse. Ansel's old bully, now dating you. I know Ansel can't stand him, yet you're still with him. I'm giving you one day to tell Ansel about this yourself, or I'll have to do it. Jesse is a great guy, and Ansel should learn to let go of the past. Your actions have consequences for our marriage. I want us to get along, but it's tough when you keep stirring up trouble. Later that night, I got a phone call that changed everything. Living with Ansel felt like living with a lazy, unproductive stranger. He spent most of his days lounging on the couch, watching TV, and scrolling through the internet. Whenever I asked for help with chores or errands, he'd either make excuses or ignore me altogether. He was never there for me emotionally, never supportive. My feelings and concerns were brushed aside, or he'd nod without really listening. It was like living with someone who didn't care about building a life together. And could you please help me with the dishes? They're stacking up in the sink. I'm a bit busy right now. Can't you do them later? I have a work deadline, and I won't be able to get to the dishes until later tonight. Can you please take a few minutes to help me out? I just don't see why I always have to do everything you ask. I have my own things to take care of, you know. Like what exactly? You've been sitting on the couch all day. I've been looking for a job, okay. It's not easy finding something that matches my qualifications. I get that, but I also need you to help out around the house. And speaking of which, why are you still charging me rent for using the basement as my office? I paid for this whole house. Well, you know I have to contribute to the household expenses somehow, and technically, the basement is mine since I paid for it. Are you serious? I own this entire house. I already contribute by paying for groceries and bills. All you do is ignore me and let your mom say whatever she wants. You're lazy, stuck up, and I can't deal with it anymore. You always take advantage of me. I work long hours to earn money and help with our home. Even though I bought the whole house, I let Ansel rent the basement from me while I work from home. I'm tired of it all. Things need to change. You're not pulling your weight around here, and your mom keeps interfering. I can't handle it anymore. What do you want me to do, Ava? I can't just cut my mom out of my life. She's my mom. I'm not asking you to cut her out, but you need to start standing up for me and helping out more around the house. If things don't change, I'm seriously thinking about divorce. During the argument, Ansel stayed quiet, but later I found out he was complaining to his mom. Every time he did, Mary would say something mean to me. Seeing him siding with her made me really angry. It was getting harder and harder to deal with their rudeness. I hated every moment of it and just wanted to get away. Then, to my shock, my mother-in-law showed up at our house that night and threw divorce papers at me, treating me like I was worthless. Look, I know you're upset with me right now, but you have to understand that I can't let you keep hurting my husband and our relationship. It's not fair to either of us. Oh, spare me the lecture. You think you're perfect, but you don't know what it takes to make a marriage work. Have those divorce papers signed and ready by tomorrow. I don't want to hear a word from someone like you. You'll never be good enough for my Ansel. I knew he was marrying a witch. Get out of our lives by tomorrow morning. Take those papers and disappear from his life. You're worthless. Oh, and by the way, you're supposed to rent out your house and move in with us for the summer. Let's see how that goes. Maybe Mary doesn't know there are consequences for your actions. Ansel has no money. Everything you have, the gifts, the trips, it's all because of my hard work and money. Don't act like you're some queen who can do whatever she wants. Who do you think paid for that diamond ring? Who pays for your car? No, that can't be true. You're lying. What do you mean Ansel has no money? I mean exactly what I said. He's been living off my income and the rent he gets from me for too long. And it's not fair to me. He's just lazy and useless, stinking up the room all day. Well, that's absurd. Ansel is a grown man, my son. He wouldn't let you support him like that. Listen, I've been more than generous for far too long, and you've both taken advantage of it. Ansel relies on my money, and so do you. You're both just draining the life out of someone. Maybe one day, if you ever realize it, I hope you'll see things from my point of view. As I looked through the divorce papers, I realized this was my ticket to freedom. Then, I heard something I never expected to hear. Ava, I'm really sorry. Please don't read through those papers. I had no idea about any of this. Please give me a chance to explain. I know I've been tough to deal with, and I regret how I've treated you. Sorry? That's rich, coming from you. Just put it down. I admit I haven't been great, but I'm ready to change. You never told me about the financial situation. You're just a bully. No wonder you and Jesse hit it off. And Ansel's not innocent either. He's lazy and takes advantage of me, and you've enabled him. Please don't sign those papers. I pushed Ansel to this. Please, I'm begging you, don't leave him. He's my son, and I care about him deeply. We can figure things out, even the money. I can move in with you, and you can still pay rent. Pay you rent in my own house. I can't stay in this toxic environment any longer. You both are awful, and I can't even stand to look at your nasty face right now. It was tough to say, but I knew it was true. Ansel finally got up from the couch and pleaded with me to stay, but I knew I couldn't keep living like this. I also knew my mother-in-law would try to talk me out of it, but I wasn't backing down. As I grabbed the papers and walked away from my mother-in-law, my heart felt heavy with the weight of my decision. I knew what I was about to do would change everything. I needed so much from Ansel that he could never give me. I wanted a close-knit family, but his mother's behavior was unbearable. I called my mom and my aunt because they were the closest to me. I needed to vent. Who else would understand me better? I don't know what to do anymore. Ansel just lounges around all day, not lifting a finger to help with anything. I even pay rent in my own house so he can have some spending money, and dealing with Mary is a nightmare. Have you talked to him about it? Yes, but he gets defensive and claims he's trying his best. But it's clear he's not putting in any effort. That's not fair to you, Ava. You work hard for your money, and he should be pitching in too. Exactly. It's frustrating to see him act this way, especially when his mom can easily influence him. I want to sit down and have a serious talk with him about all of this. I arrived home to find several voicemails from Mary, pleading for me to stay. Do you even know about this? Is this something you want to argue about again? God, you're so irritating. Just tell me. Wow, the whole family's nuts, huh? By the way, your mom's dating Jesse. And thanks for never mentioning that you've been wanting a divorce for ages. She's dating Jess. She knows how awful he was to me. How could she do this? And Ava, with all your nagging, I don't want to be with someone like you. My mom was right, you're not good enough for me. I don't want to sign those papers, but dealing with you is unbearable. I regret even begging you to stay. I can manage just fine without you. I'm a man. I can support myself. I'm not good enough for you. Take a look at yourself. You haven't showered in 5 days because you haven't gotten a single job notification. You've been on unemployment for ages. It's sad to see you like this. Finally, he looked at me. What? You think that about me? Are you leaving me? We just wanted to scare you. If I told you how you made me feel, you'd reconsider. The papers were a way to show you that you were being difficult and awful to me, and we wanted to teach you a lesson. Wow, I can't even begin to deal with you guys. You're both insane, and I can't believe this is happening. I've signed the papers and called my attorney. You'll hear from him soon. I want you out of this house by 5 p.m. today, and here's the $20,000 you paid for that stupid basement. I threw the money at Ansel's face, and Mary stood at the door, staring at me in shock. I won't sign those papers. Fine, then I have no choice but to report your mother for abuse and theft to the authorities. You've both been taking advantage of me, making me pay rent in my own house. What about us? What about our life? Good luck with that. Hope you don't end up starving under a bridge. Don't ever contact me again. I want you out by tonight. As I walked away, Ansel complained that none of this was fair to him and accused me of being mean. Mary kept begging me to stay and pleading with me, but I knew leaving them behind was the best thing for me. I had put Ansel on a pedestal for too long. I needed to realize he was just a flawed human being, and a pretty terrible one at that. Leaving him and kicking them out of my house was the most peaceful decision I could make for myself. It wasn't easy, and I still struggle with it, but I knew I had to do it. I had been taken advantage of and manipulated for far too long, and I was ready to move on and start anew. After they left, I focused on myself and my own happiness. I bought a new home in a different city and began to build a life that was entirely my own. I started working on my own firm with some colleagues from my workplace, and although it was challenging, it was also exhilarating to build something from scratch. Everything was growing, and I was eager to keep expanding. Yay, I'm really impressed by what you've achieved with the firm. You've been working so hard, and it's really showing. Thank you, Ethan. It's been tough, but it's definitely paying off. I'm really excited about what's next for us. Talking about the future, have you thought about expanding the firm? Maybe hiring more people or opening another location? Actually, I have. I've been looking into it, and it seems like a possibility. I'm still in the early stages of planning, but it's definitely something I'm considering. I've also adopted a son who brings so much joy and happiness into my life every day. He's my little ray of sunshine, and I cherish him deeply. We love spending time together soaking up the sun at the park. As for Ansel and Mary, I've completely cut them out of my life. Mary occasionally calls, asking for money. You took everything from us. We're left with nothing. Ansel and I are struggling to get by, living in a motel and running out of money. Send us some money. You owe us enough to help us out. I owe you nothing, and I'm sorry to hear you're going through a tough time. However, I won't be able to help you financially. Both you and Ansel need to take responsibility for your own lives. This lazy man has been sitting around doing nothing. I've been working tirelessly, taking on jobs here and there. No one's hiring him. Don't count on me to support you. I told you who your son was, and you said he was too good for me. You and Ansel need to figure things out together. I understand your apologies, but I can't forget how you treated me. You both have been awful. You don't know how I'm doing. I've hit rock bottom. Jessie won't talk to me. I have nothing left. Let me tell you what happened. Please just listen. I didn't want to hear her talk about Jessie, but I didn't want my son to see me get angry and argue with my mother-in-law. So I let her speak, and she told me about a conversation she had with her boyfriend. I refused to let her manipulate me any longer. After that conversation, I blocked her and never spoke to her again. Recently, I learned that my ex-husband finally found a job as a janitor at a school, but is still struggling financially. While I understand living paycheck to paycheck, I have no sympathy. He took advantage of me and my money, and I'm relieved that chapter of my life is over. Mary and Ansel now live in a shelter and are facing eviction onto the streets. Ansel has even lost his spot at the shelter and now lives under a nearby bridge. Mary has managed to secure benefits due to her age, allowing her to stay in the shelter. As for me, I've bought a new home and have a different address now. I didn't want to stay in that old house. I've also gained new clients, and my son and I enjoy swimming, so I bought a home with a pool and a yard to play in with my little sunshine.